behalf of Worthington City Schools counselors here at Worthington Kilbourne at Thomas Worthington High School, welcome to our 2019 Academic Options Night. My name is David Court. I have the opportunity to be college counselor at Thomas Worthington High School. We're excited to see so many faces here, as these opportunities for your son and daughter are wonderful opportunities to take advantage from. There are many details that will be shared with you this evening, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy our presentation. I would like to introduce 4 special guests that will be available to speak with you individually after the presentation. From Central Ohio Technical College is Brant Baker, here to my right. From The Ohio State University is Miss Michelle Brown. From Columbus State Community College is Miss Julie Barnacle. And our partner from Otterbein is Miss Shelby Edick. Thank you for being here. Again, these 4 representatives from their institutions will be available to speak to you at the conclusion of the presentation just outside the auditorium to the left, and they'll be happy to answer any questions. Again, I am looking forward to our presentation tonight about College Credit Plus. With that being said, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Ms. Michelle Brown from The Ohio State University to share information on College Credit Plus. Thank you, Michelle.
Well, hi, it's great to see all of you out here tonight. As you heard, College Credit Plus is a great opportunity for your family, for your students. And what I always like to tell folks is that this is a great time to start a family conversation. Because I've worked with this program and the program that was like it a few years back for a long, long time. It's a great program for the right student at the right time. And so this should be the start of that conversation. Is this the right program for you? Is this the right time to be doing this program? And which institution is the right place to do it? And we're here to try to give you as much information as possible so that you can answer those questions as a family and feel like you have at least a start of the information that you need. I am going to tell you straight off, we're not going to tell you every detail tonight, but you all are really fortunate in that you have some incredible counselors here within the district who are going to be available to help with follow-up questions and answer a lot of information for you. So please do go to the counselor, make sure that you're asking questions so that you have a good idea if there's anything that's a little fuzzy when you go home and start talking about all of this. So, College Credit Plus is a state program that's been around since 2015 that allows qualified students to enroll in college classes before graduating from high school. And the nice thing about it is that students get credit both at the high school level and at the college level. So you actually have 2 transcripts and 1 class will count on both. So it is definitely a great program to be thinking about. It is generally free. Sometimes there might be some small cost, but generally it is free for students who are Ohio residents. And you can take the classes sometimes within the high school, on the college campus, or as an online course. It also can count towards your high school graduation requirements. So, I'm going to say this probably more than once. Here's a big plea. Please never, never, never take your last high school graduation requirement as a College Credit Plus course this semester that you plan to graduate from high school. Because we can tell you horror stories of students who did not graduate from high school because they didn't pass a college class. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? So again, that's where working with your counselors is really important, to make sure that you plan things out and you know how to get all of those high school graduation requirements along with the college courses that you're taking. And this is available year-round, so you can take classes over the summer, you can take classes in the fall and in the spring. It is not required that you do it every semester, so we know some students who maybe they're in the marching band in the fall, so they decide to take classes in the spring. That's perfectly fine. This is not something that is set up in a real lockstep fashion. you can make this program work to fit your particular needs. Again, I said this is free or mostly free. So tuition is going to be covered by your school district, and all of the public schools are going to be free tuition. Private colleges have the right to charge a small amount, but I know that Otterbein does not actually charge any fees. So even though it's a private school, the colleges that you have here tonight would all be free tuition for students to participate. We also waive any kind of fee. You don't have to pay an application fee, you don't have to pay a chemistry lab fee, and your books are provided by your school district. So the cost that you might find yourself paying would be transportation if you want to take a class on campus. There's not going to be a bus to take you downtown to one of our campuses, so you'll have to figure that out. And we've had students who have taken the Coda bus straight down High Street and come to one of our campuses downtown, or figuring out how you're going to pay for parking. All of that is something that you might have to pay for. And if there's something that's optional, like a beautiful recreation center that has an additional fee, that would be something that you can opt in to pay, but that would not be a required fee for anybody. So, who's eligible to do this? State law says that students in grades 7 through 12 who are college ready can participate. How many of you are 7th or 8th graders, or parents of 7th or 8th graders? Okay. How many 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders? Okay. So the makeup of this audience is pretty much what the makeup of College Credit Plus is in general. Statewide, there are a few middle school students that participate. The vast majority of students across the state who participate are high school juniors and seniors, so this is good. But even for those of you who do have younger kids, this is good to find out what's available so you can start planning as we move forward. Now, of course, because this is all state funded, this means that it's not totally unlimited. So it means that in a school year, a student can earn up to the equivalent of a full year of college credit, which college credit is measured in credit hours, and a 30-hour span is what you need to finish a year of college. So when you've completed 30 years of college credit, you now have sophomore standing at the college level. And over your entire career, you can earn up to 120 credit hours at college, which is essentially a bachelor's degree. But again, we're going to have to make this work with what you're doing in high school. So if you are taking classes both at high school and at college, we're going to figure this out. This is getting a little bit into details, and this is the type of thing that your counselor is going to help you with. But know that every high school class that you take is going to be counted as a 3-credit-hour class. And so we'll have this nice little formula, and we'll say, okay, let's make sure that you aren't going over this maximum amount. So say that we have a student who's taking 3 high school classes, and he wants to take some college classes. We go through this nice little formula, and we say, okay, you're eligible to take 21 credits at college, which you can divide up between the summer, fall, and spring semester. Again, your counselor is going to help you figure this all out, so you don't have to memorize all of these details. And we'll also make sure that you have access to this PowerPoint after tonight if you want to go back and see the details. Do we have anybody here who is attending a private school or who is homeschooled? Okay. Because people who attend private schools and homeschool are also state taxpayers, they're eligible to participate. There's a little bit of a different process, but they still are eligible. So if there is anybody who is and doesn't want to raise your hand in this crowd, you can talk to us and we'll be happy to answer any specific details. But just know that there is the option, you just have to go through an application to receive funding from the state. And there also is going to be a self-pay option available For students who, for some reason, don't want to take advantage of free college credit, yes, you can participate in this program and pay the regular cost of tuition. Usually students who end up doing this are students who might be homeschool or private school students who don't have enough funding to take as many classes as they want. It might be a student who wants to take a class that's not eligible for college credit plus funding, or a student who says, you know what, I don't want this on my high school transcript. But I will tell you, we have very few students that are doing this on the self-pay side. Almost everybody is taking advantage of the state funding for this. So, why do people choose to do College Credit Plus? Well, free college is kind of a big deal, I think. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
Pretty big deal. The other thing is that you can take advantage of a really wide range of courses. Now, you guys go to a great school district that has a lot of different things that you can do. But when you start looking at the full colleges that are here today, and you start looking at all of our different offerings, you are now just really multiplying the different options that are going to be available to you. So it also gives you the chance to just see what it is that college is all about. What is the difference between a high school teacher and a college faculty member? What is it like to take a class that if you took the high school equivalent would be a year-long AP course, and now you've just smushed it down into a 15-week semester? It's a great eye-opening experience, and I've had a lot of students over the years who've told me that they feel like this has really given them a lot of confidence for when they go off to college for real, that they know what to expect and that they know that they're able to handle the work. And what's really nice is that in the state of Ohio, we have some great transferability agreements, especially among all of the public colleges. Though again, most of the privates in state also participate with the transfer agreements. So you can tell pretty easily how something is going to count from one college to another. For example, if you take Math 1148 at Columbus State, it will be Math 1148 at Ohio State. Or it can transfer to Miami or BG or all over. So there are really some nice opportunities to start getting courses that can count towards your degree. You will be given grades based on the college scale. So the transcript that you have at your high school will list the name of the course, say where it was taken, and it will list the grade that you earned based on the college course. But if your school gives weight for AP or IB classes, any CCP courses in the same subject area will be given the same weight. So you have AP English, that means all of the AP English literature classes that you take would be given that same amount of weight. So that's definitely something that some students are pretty interested in. And basically the idea is that you should be able to pick a rigorous course and get rewarded for it the same way, whether it's AP or IB or CCP. They are all good options. So a lot of times people say, which is best? They're not best, they're different, they're all good because they're challenging you to go a little bit more in depth. But we do want to make sure that we're giving you some ideas of some of the risks, and there are definitely some risks. These are real college classes. I have people come up to me all the time and say, can you tell me about your classes for 7th graders? We don't have classes for 7th graders. We have college classes. A 7th grader may qualify to take the class, but it's the exact class. And it doesn't matter if it's taught here at your high school or if it's taught on our campuses or if it's taught online, it is the exact same course. And the expectation is going to be the same in terms of what the professors are expecting, in terms of the workload. So they definitely are not the opportunity to try it out. It is a real class, that you get a real grade on a real college transcript that's going to follow you. Unfortunately, sometimes students don't succeed. I spent a little bit of time the last 2 weeks dealing with students who did not do well last semester. Not very many. Most of our students actually do quite well. But if a student drops a class after the first 2 weeks or fails a class, the school district has the right to ask the family to pay back the cost of that course. So that's why it's really important that you know that your student is ready to participate in the program. You have a college transcript now, and it also is affecting your high school transcript. So your high school grade point average, class rank, all of that. So if you flunk a college class, that can hurt your chances of being admitted to different colleges or getting scholarships. So again, it's helpful to make sure that a student is ready and prepared to be successful. And so sometimes federal financial aid can also be impacted if a student is leaving a record of doing poorly. So you want to make sure to talk through and figure out how do you make sure your student is doing well, how do they make sure they take advantage of all the resources, how do they ask for help. So a student who's able to advocate for themselves is going to be really important throughout this process. Again, transportation is not provided, so if you're planning on coming to one of our campuses, you need to think about what that means. Because I don't know if any of you have ever heard this, but parking at Ohio State, not good. It's not close, and it takes a long time. So if you're going to come to a college campus, you can't just think about the time that the class itself takes. You have to think about, well, how long is it going to take me to get there and to park, and once I park, to get to the classroom? And what is that going to mean in terms of being involved in sports, or in marching band, or having a job? And so you need to weigh those things out. I had a young man this past week who had to make some hard decisions because our spring break doesn't match his high school spring break. He's on, his high school basketball team is going to be doing this great tournament in Florida over his high school spring break. Guess what? His physics class has a midterm during that week, and they won't let him make it up. So he had to decide, do I do the spring break trip that I've been working on for 4 years, or do I take a physics class? So there will be some times that you have to really think through, what are those priorities, what's the most important to you. He's not taking physics. And the other thing to think about is that while transferability is pretty much guaranteed within the public system of Ohio, when you start talking out-of-state colleges, it may or may not transfer. So I had a young man, it's been a number of years now, who did full-time for 2 years at Ohio State. Great student, brilliant young man. He pretty much could have come to Ohio State for free based on his scholarships all kicked in, and finished in 2 years. He instead chose to go to Harvard, full pay, and he had to start over as a freshman because Harvard said, no, we're not taking any of that credit. For him, that was worth it. That was his decision that he got to make, and that's something that you will get to make when you get to that point. So what he did say is that it was worth it because it helped him to get admitted, and he was happy that he made that decision. Do you have a question?
Yeah, did you decide the Harvard classes were harder than OSU?
Are the Harvard classes harder than the OSU classes? We didn't have a conversation about that. We did not. He took some pretty hard OSU classes. He took some in-depth microbiology, molecular genetics, those kinds of classes. I don't think that we found those easy, but we didn't have that conversation, sorry. So again, as you start looking at colleges, what you want to start doing is talking to them about, will you accept my credit? Not only is transferability an issue, Also, will it count towards your major? So even if you're taking a class at Ohio State and plan to stay at Ohio State, you need to make sure that you're working with your advisor to make sure that if you want to go into business, that you're taking those econ classes, which are the prereqs to get into the major. So we all have advisors who work with you. Some students walk in and like, I don't need an advisor, I know what I'm going to do. And sometimes find out that they have credits that aren't going to count towards their major. So you again want to spend some time thinking through what some of those options are going to be. When you are a College Credit Plus student, you're a college student. And it doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter if you are taking the class here or online or at this college. You're a college student. And so what that means is that communication is going to happen directly between the instructor and the student. Parents are generally not going to be involved in that conversation because that's how college classes work. And out of the classroom, you're going to be getting a lot of email from a lot of people on our campuses. Our bookstore, our registrar's office, everybody's going to be sending you email. You have to check it. We know that most high school students don't like email, they don't read it. I have a young man, we've had a lot of problems because he's like, oh, yeah, the email that I put on my application, I never read. So he never found out he was actually admitted. You have to read your email on a daily basis. So that is something that you just have to bite the bullet and you have to do it. There also are a couple of laws that are different at the college level. So most of you probably have never thought about a little law called FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. But it affects who can talk to you about a student's records, and that means anything to do with the class. At the elementary and secondary level, it means that both the parent and the student have equal access, so you can call up a teacher, send an email to the principal, have a conversation and get full details about did he do his homework, why did he get this grade on this class, and that's all kosher. At the college level, the records belong only to the student. There are waivers that you can sign, and usually somebody in the registrar's office will let you sign that and they'll tell you some more information, but our faculty generally say, I need to talk to the student. So as a parent, if you're used to emailing and saying, can you explain why this happened? Now you're going to have to sit next to your student and talk to them about how do you advocate? How do you initiate that phone call or that email? Because a faculty member, if a parent calls, is very likely to say, due to FERPA, I must speak directly to the student. So just know that that is a difference that you're going to experience. Another issue is that of accommodations. So in the elementary and secondary system, you have the IDEA, which means that if you need accommodations, you might have an IEP, and so you're going to sit down and you're going to have a meeting with the teacher and the counselor, and everybody's going to discuss how this is going to work. That does not affect the college level. At the college level, we follow the ADA. And so what that means is that we have services and we have resources, but the student has to seek it out in our Office of Disability Services and let the instructor know, here's what I'm being provided. And generally speaking, what that means is that is not going to be modification of the content. It may be, yes, you get time and a half or you get a distraction-free place to take a test, but it's not, you keep taking the test until you pass or whatever the accommodations might be in place. So it might not be identical, but we definitely will provide services. Student is responsible for seeking those out. So a couple of little differences that you're going to find. So how do you participate? The state has set this up in 3 steps. So they've said, all right, first of all, who is college ready. And the state said, we're going to decide that college ready is based on standardized tests, everybody's favorite. So they could come up with some tests and some guidelines. And if you want to do CCP, you have to take one of these tests. So it can be an ACT, an SAT. There's also AccuPlacer and ALEX. And so these tests are different, but they're basically meant to be tests that show how ready you are to take college classes. And the state has come up with this lovely, lovely chart and said, okay, if you meet this guidelines here, and again, we'll give you this PowerPoint so you don't have to memorize all these numbers. If you meet the stated test score cutoffs, then you are eligible for CCP at the state level. Students who are maybe just shy of these scores can be conditionally admitted based on grades and or a letter of recommendation. So you've made it, you're college ready, the state says you're eligible to do CCP. The next step is to actually apply to a college and be admitted into their CCP program. And the state has said that our admission criteria should match what our regular admission criteria is for students after high school. So you could be eligible for CCP and not be admitted to a particular college because you don't meet their requirements. So it's helpful to know that there's a couple of different admission policies that you should be thinking about. Open access means if you have graduated from high school, you can start, no problem. For CCP, it means as long as you meet the college readiness guidelines, you're in. That's most typical at a regional campus of one of the four-year publics or at the community colleges. And again, you meet college readiness, you're good to go. A college that has liberal enrollment is likely to say, as long as you meet these benchmarks, so you have a 2.5 GPA and a 23 composite, you're admitted. So you can ask and they will very quickly say, here's what our cutoffs are. Then there are colleges that are in that somewhere in the selective to highly selective range, which will use some kind of a holistic review process that can combine a whole bunch of different things. Well, we're going to look at the high school classes you've already taken. We want to see that you have a certain GPA. We want to see, have you already taken any AP or IB? We're going to look at a whole bunch of different things. So colleges might be putting a lot of different factors in and not necessarily have a specific cutoff, but it's just the students who are the strongest are the ones who will be admitted into the program. So you need to ask the different colleges, what is your admission process? And we will tell you as we all come out and talk to you about it. Once you're admitted, then the course enrollment process starts. And so we will work with you, your counselors will work with you, and there are both state rules and college rules which determine what classes you might be able to take. So last year, the state got worried about students taking classes that weren't really helping them move forward towards a degree, and they came up with some rules. And basically they said, when you first get started, we want you to start off in classes that we're considering transferable or leading on a pathway to a particular program. There's a lot of rules. There's a sheet that I sometimes have to sit there and I have to really study hard to make sure that we're following the rules. Your counselors will also work with you. But in general, these are classes that typically are going to meet general education, so your English composition, your basic math and science. There's a lot of classes that fit within this area. Once you've taken 15 credit hours, then you can start going even further and go beyond that. But then the state said, well, okay, there's still a few things that we don't want you to do. So they said, all right, we're not going to pay for you to take one-on-one music lessons anymore. Do it privately. We're not going to pay college tuition for you to take a Zumba class. We're not going to pay for you to be able to take private pilot's license, which costs has a course fee of $7,000. That one you're going to have to take care of on your own. And we want you to get a grade. We want these to be not religious courses. So there's a few rules that we have to follow to make sure that you are not doing these. We've had a few people say, well, I still need a PE, so they take it, but they're paying for it themselves because it's not an allowed CCP class. So just know that it's not everything out there, but there's still quite a lot that you can do. And once you actually start talking about enrolling in a class, then you also have to meet any prerequisites that the college has in place. So you cannot take Math 1151 unless you already have credit for Math 1148, 1150, because that's the knowledge that you need to be successful. So that's, again, where a place where your advisor is going to help you and make sure that you are taking the right classes that you're ready to be successful in. Again, not everybody does well. And so the state added a new twist beyond having to pay for a class if you fail it. If your GPA goes below a 2 point, or you're enrolled in classes and start dropping them towards the end of the semester because you don't think you're going to do well for whatever reason, your school can put you on probation, will put you on probation, which will limit you, because the idea is if you come in and you are failing classes, you probably weren't ready. So let's hold off, maybe just take one class for the next year, and then we'll see how things go. So again, you'll work with your counselor, you'll work with your advisor at the college to make sure that you're not developing a really bad college grade point average before you even graduate from high school. All right, so what are some of the next steps? At this high school level, you are required to submit a letter of intent, and I think you'll probably be getting more information about that after I finish talking. The letter of intent keeps the door open. So if you sign a letter of intent and never take CCP, no problem, no big deal. But if you want to do it and you haven't signed the letter of intent, your school can say, sorry, you didn't follow the process. The deadline is going to be around April 1st. It might have some variations based on spring breaks. But know that the state rule is that you have to indicate to your high school that you're thinking about it by April 1st of the year before. Talk with your counselor, because your counselors can tell you, well, what's happening here in the building, what kind of classes are going to be available for you here. They can make sure that what you're doing is going to meet your graduation requirements, because I'm not a high school counselor. I know that there are some things that you can do. I know that there's some things that you don't have to take an end-of-year course, but there's some things that you do. I don't ever want to cause a student to not graduate from high school. So talk with your counselor, get all of those graduation requirements taken care of so that you don't have to worry about that. You also need to talk to your counselor about, well, what do I need to do in terms of getting transcripts or other information? Do I need a letter of recommendation? Those are the types of things that your counselor can help you with. And if you find out about it early enough, you won't miss deadlines. Because missing deadlines is a reason that you might not be able to participate. And then, of course, you actually have to apply to the college of your choice. Every year I get a phone call from somebody saying, hey, classes start, and I thought I was in the program. I'm like, I never got an application from you. So no, you're not in the program. So all of us have applications, we have websites, we can tell you exactly where to go. You need to follow the steps, get everything in, and then we will then be able to start the process of orientation and course scheduling and everything else that we need to have happen so that you can actually take this course. So we're going to just, are you guys okay with us each doing like a 2-minute about our colleges? Okay, so on this day, did you want to come up or do you want me to? So we're going to, I'm screening this on Monday. So just a real quick couple details. What is the admission process, deadlines, all that. Mary. Wasn't planning on the 2-minute, but I'm Julie Barnacle from Columbus State, Enrollment Advisor. And yeah, pretty much we're already talking about the letter of intent here at the high school, applying for the college, making sure that you send in your test scores, ACT or SAT, or taking our placement test on campus. But also, our process specifically asks for a consent form to be filled out, and that is signed by you, a parent or guardian, and the high school counselor. And then we will set up an appointment with you and work on a registration form. But if you do have any more questions, please feel free to come by and stop by after this program. Thank you.
Fail. Just kidding. So I'm Brant. I don't have a slide up here. I was supposed to, but it didn't make the PowerPoint. But real quick, I'm with Central Ohio Technical College. I'll have information out in the hallway for you guys after this presentation. But same kind of guidelines. Letter of intent by April 1st to your high school guidance counselor. Another thing that I recommend is if you fill out that letter of intent, automatically just go on our website at cotc.edu and fill out the free application online. It's best to do it, just by a show of hands, how many students know their social security number? Oh yeah, you want your parents for that. So that's one of the best things I can recommend you guys doing is if you're interested in participating in classes at COTC, whether it's at your high school, online, or at our campus, just go ahead and fill out that application online with your parents because it's going to ask you for some personal information that you may not know off the top of your head where you got to consult with your parents. Once we get that application, we're going to ask you to get us your high school transcripts, a couple different measurements on getting you into the classes. We do the AccuPlacer scoring as far as getting you into those classes that you may need to test into for the college or test out of in a sense. Also your GPA and a couple classes that you may have taken here and there on your high school transcripts. And then we basically enroll you and you become a CCP student. All right, cool, awesome. I'll be out there in the hallway with my table without a slide, but great information. Thank you.
Happens when you don't remember how you edited the PowerPoint. So for Ohio State, we are that highly selective college. That means that you will need to submit either an ACT or SAT. We do not use AccuPlacer. It is going to be looking at the courses that you've taken, your grades, so it is going to be significantly more difficult than just meeting the college readiness guidelines. Our application deadline for the summer is February 15th, but know that summer term starts on May 8th, so that might cause some problems with your high school schedule. Deadline for fall is May 1st, and then the deadline for the spring term is going to be October 15th. I'll be happy to answer more specific questions about Ohio State out in the hallway and do that, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I failed. Come on.
Hello, my name is Shelby Edick, and I am with Otterline University. Everything that these lovely people have said, letter of intent, and just like the technical school said, once you apply with your letter of intent CCP, go ahead and go to our website and fill out the application. And if you have additional questions, please see me. I can give you a brochure. Thank you.
And I'm Andrea Gratz, one of the counselors at Kilbourne, and we wanted to just finish up the presentation with information about what College Credit Plus is going to look at or look like for Worthington schools. Before we go ahead and go through this one, to let you know a couple things, and that is that we need you to stick around until the end. We're not going to do the question and answer. We're just going to get you all of the information that you need. And at the end, you'll be receiving that intent to participate form, and that has been pre-signed by one of the counselors. And that just verifies basically that you've sat through the state required counseling session. So you won't necessarily have to go through another step in order to turn in that intent to participate form. And since we have so many people, we thought it would be a good idea once we are dismissed, if you would like to go out that side door where you came in. And then we'll also have people at the back doors handing out those papers as well. So we want to help you get in and out as quickly as possible. So we wanted to first go through the college classes that are taught by Worthington Staff. As you can see on the chart, we have several. The chart is set up by the college class name, the high school equivalent, the college credit versus the high school credit, which partner college it is, which you'll notice on this first page that most of these that are taught by Worthington teachers are partnered with Central Ohio Technical College. And then we, at the very end, we say which high school will be offering which classes. So that's how that is pretty much set up. The classes are the same classes that are taught to students who are not taking classes for College Credit Plus, but it's the same content. You get college credit for it. Our college, or our classes, for most of these meet the same content that's delivered in the college classes, which is how we're able to co-seat some of those, so to speak. Here are the rest of the classes that are taught by Worthington Staff. You'll notice that there are a couple toward the bottom that are just Thomas Worthington High School only. Just a couple of notes that AP and College Credit Plus classes are not allowed to be co-seated, meaning they can't exist in the same classroom at the same period taught by the same teacher. So students, you may be faced with the decision of choosing either the AP form of math, for example, or the College Credit Plus. And that's where you have a conversation with your school counselor and you talk about what your long-term goals are, and you figure out, as Michelle said, you figure out what fits for you, because what fits for one does not necessarily fit for someone else. Both of the high schools also offer classes where we will have a Columbus State instructor come in, teach the classes. What you'll see on the slide is a list of the classes that we hope to offer. Hopefully in the semesters that are listed there. We can only offer these classes though based on enrollment. So if there are some classes that don't have the minimum number of students that the colleges will require, then obviously we may not be able to offer that class. Again, both of these, all of these classes, we are hoping to offer at both Thomas Worthington and Worthington Kilbourne. And we did choose these classes because of their transferability. All of these are part of that transfer module that we were speaking about earlier. This is a question that a lot of people have when you're taking classes that are taught by a Columbus State instructor at our school, but they happen on our campus. The schedule is a little bit different. And for those classes, they're blocked and they meet only a certain number of days per week. So, for example, if you're going to take Composition 1 in the first semester, that could be periods 1 and 2 on Mondays and Wednesdays only. So then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you don't have anything periods 1 and 2. So we run them exactly the way a college class would be run for the ones that are offered here by Columbus State instructors. I think I forgot to mention that the ones that are offered by our Worthington teachers are set up in a traditional model. So they will run the entire year, the entire semester, depending on what type of class they are. So math, for example, would run the entire year as opposed to just one semester, since that is taught by a Worthington teacher. So we did mention that you have until April 1st to submit your intent to participate form. If you haven't heard this already, we are starting to gear up for scheduling registration for next school year already. So we'll ask you to assume, unless you hear differently, that the classes that we have listed here are ones that are going to be offered, the College Credit Plus classes. If you're thinking about taking a class at one of the college campuses, still go ahead and sign up for your high school classes, because we don't know right away what you're going to be able to get into and all of that. So we just want you, we have to have an accurate, as close to accurate count as possible for the students who are going to be signing up for College Credit Plus classes and also for their high school classes. So it's really important that you, again, plan for what you really think is going to happen, I guess is the best way to say it. And then last, we've already heard about balance, but we just wanted to bring that up to you again, that you really want to think carefully about the courses you're selecting. Think about the rigor, the time that each course is going to take. Remember that the 5.0 weighting of the college classes is great if you get a good grade in the class. It's weighted on a 5.0 scale. If you would unfortunately end up failing the class or withdrawing and not getting a grade for the class, then that would impact your GPA on the opposite end. And then I think it was already mentioned that the college will be reporting the grade. Your high school transcript will have the college name and the grade on it.
Hi, I'm Erica Mann. I'm one of the counselors here at Kilbourne. We're almost done, guys. The end is near. Just a couple of reminders for CC Plus. These are college classes. I know we have talked about that a lot tonight. Sometimes students, they get into these courses and they don't take it as serious as they should, and remembering that it's on a 5.0 scale, which can be a really great thing for your GPA, but it could also kind of go the other way as well. So just keep that in mind. If you fail a CC Plus course, you are responsible for the cost of the course, but it doesn't happen very often. And you must follow all the requirements to apply for that college. Make sure you are registering for the ACT this spring. That is something that we highly recommend if you are planning on utilizing the CC Plus options next year. And for our male students, if you turn 18 before you register, you have to have your selective service number. I believe that has not been mentioned, and so I just want to mention that because that kind of threw some of our kiddos off. So if you are 18 when you register, these are for the male kiddos, so keep that in mind. Okay, so next steps. Why don't I have my college advisors, the lovely Otterbein, COTC, Columbus State, and Ohio State. Why don't you guys head out there, kind of set up, remember, parents, students, I'll see if you're paying attention. When is the date that your intent to participate forms are due? Oh, we haven't lost you yet. Awesome. Okay, so April 1st, you will receive, not quite yet, in a couple minutes, a yellow intent form to participate. It will be yellow. Please turn those into your counseling center, whether at Thomas or Kilbourne, by April 1st. And like Andrea had said, or Mrs. Fretz had said, make sure if you are planning on incorporating CCP courses into your schedule next year, you are scheduling that with your counselor with those courses in your schedule. Am I missing anything else? Okay. All right, so now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So we just talked a lot about College Credit Plus. I just want to touch on credit flexibility. This is another option. It does not give you college credit, but it does allow for you to earn high school credit in a non-traditional setting. So this is just a quick flow chart. This presentation will be on our counselor's website, so after tonight you are more than welcome to get on there and look at it. But there are two ways, gone are the days that you had to sit in a classroom every single day and do, with a teacher and do the assignments to earn your high school credit. Now we offer credit flexibility, where students actually have the flexibility and they have some ownership of how they want to design their curriculum and studies along with a highly qualified teacher to earn credit. So there's two ways. You can do it by demonstration of proficiency. That is for students who have already learned the course material. Let's say you are really proficient in Spanish and you rocked it out in Spanish 1 and you thought, I'd like to take the placement test to just test right into Spanish 3. That is an example of demonstration of proficiency. So you can kind of test into a course without actually sitting in that class. The other option is educational options. This is for students who do not yet know the course material, but you are coming up with some sort of student design learning. You're working with your teacher, fitting it in your schedule throughout the day, independent study, internships. We are pretty open to what students propose to us with a credit flexibility option. So how do you do credit flex if that's something you're interested in? Students are responsible for completing a form, filling out the paperwork, getting the signatures that are required. If you log on to Worthington City Schools website, right on their home page, the organization tab, it has a little drop down that says forms. I think the credit flex form is the second or third right there. You can fill it out online and it kind of gives you a little bit more information, but it is on our website. So thank you guys for attending.